This is another episode of Inside the Locker Room. And it's been an interesting week in the sports world of college football. The power rankings just dropped, but we are going to dive into the Sun Belt, a conference that doesn't normally get a lot of love. And also schools like Tulane and your Louisiana schools, Tulane, LSU. We're going to do a quick little chat about this in this little short podcast episode with Michael. But Michael, LA Tech, ULL, ULM, they got a lot of expectations coming into next season. They weren't, the best in the, necessarily the best in their respective conferences, and there could have been a lot of changes. But Michael, just like what are some things that you saw from these teams, ULM, ULL, Louisiana Tech, for instance?
Well, first I'm gonna start off with Louisiana Tech. As far as expectations, and I wrote all this down, so I'm gonna try to be quick with it. So basically, the Louisiana Tech is expected to build on their defensive success from last season while improving their offensive production. What I mean by that, as far as defense, La Tech defense had a strong showing last season, ranking 12th nationally among FBS teams. The defense is expected to maintain a high level of performance and continue to be a strength for the team. The team will be looking to replicate or improve on their defensive dominance in the previous year. Now, offense. The offense is expected to be more effective this season. Quarterback Evan Bullock, who had 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in his young career, is returning. The team is bringing back multiple players on the offensive line, including Omar Wiggins at running back, Marlon Jackson at wide receiver, and Eli Finley at tight end. So the expectation for Louisiana Tech is they just got to find that dominance. And I feel like, this is Sonny Cumbie's chance to either save his coaching career, or I don't want him to get fired before they go to the Sun Belt Conference, which will probably be next year if I'm not mistaken. But if I'm Sonny Cumbie and I'm the Louisiana Tech football program, something's got to turn around. And I say that respectfully. I'm not saying that, they're garbage. No, they're still a competitive team. There are just some wrinkles in this team that need to be, how can I put this, need to be fixed.
Yeah, and I like that you say that because like watching them last year, you could see like they had the players, they had at least some of the players to compete, but at times they just looked mad inconsistent. They would win a game, then go lose two, or win two games, then lose one, and that's why they finished 4-4. If I'm looking at it right in their conference play, yeah, 4-4 in their conference play, and 5-8 in their just regular what you call it record, but that's just when you, in my opinion, when you get like when you finish like 4-4, that's just a team that shows like, okay, this is a team that isn't bad, but
Yeah,
this team is not necessarily the best right now, and it could be better.
right,
uh you know every offseason they bring in all these recruits, all these transfers.
right.
You got to see if LA Tech really took note of that and say, okay, this is what we need to do to jump to the top. Because also got to mention they're going to the Sun Belt Conference soon, and
Yeah,
they will be playing a school like ULL, and ULL is probably the best team in that conference. If you want to debate it or not, they finished 7-1 in conference play last year. That is competition, and and like I'm gonna say this: when you come into a new conference, you want to establish yourself. You don't want to come into a conference and be dead last, because then people are going to think, okay, maybe they need to go back down to the conference they were in before. But I think Tech has what it takes, to compete with these other teams in the Sun Belt Conference when they jump up. But
hmm
like you said, Michael, it's just I think it's like just the little things right now that is holding them back.
that's all it is. And which, like I said, which kind of bring me to my next topic. Why is Law Tech's head coach Sonny Cumbie, the head coach at Louisiana Tech University in Ruston, Louisiana? If y'all don't know, that's the university in Ruston. That's my hometown. Is in the hot seat due to his overall record of 11-26 in 3 seasons. Deuce. This includes an 8-16 record in the Conference USA play. This upcoming move to the Sun Belt Conference adds pressure, as the competition will be tougher. Like you just said, they got ULL, they got ULM, the Sun Belt Conference is pretty much already competitive as it is.
You got schools like not even just schools in Louisiana. You got schools like Marshall, Georgia Southern, Texas State. You got all these different schools in the Sun Belt. The Sun Belt is a better conference
Uh,
than Conference USA. So if you really, for LA Tech, if you really want to come in and establish yourself, you got to see these changes. And it starts with the little things. It
This,
starts with stuff in the locker room. It starts with the discipline. It starts with all the little things.
but I don't think, you know, I understand you want to move, you know, to the Sun Belt Conference. I understand that because I'm all for it. Like I said in the last previous episode, I was all for it. Battle Louisiana, hey, it's live, baby. But Cumby's performance is under review, and he needs to show significant improvement in the 2025 season to avoid being replaced before Louisiana Tech even gets to the Sun Belt Conference and they are officially members of the Sun Belt Conference. So, you know, if I'm Sonny Cumby, I'm gonna have to use this season here. Forget what's gonna happen in the Sun Belt because you might be gone before that. I'm not saying he will be, but in reality, you just don't know. If he doesn't perform well, he could possibly end up being fired. If the athletic director does not approve, because sometimes these athletic directors, they have a personal relationship with these head coaches, and I think you can agree with me on that, Deuce. So it just will come down to, you know, will the athletic director see enough to either one, give Sonny Cumby a chance, or two, let him go. That's just the reality of it. Like I said, I'm all for Louisiana Tech moving to the Sun Belt Conference, but at the same time, the question mark still remains: is Sonny Cumby in the hot seat?
Yeah, and I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what the schedule they have this year because I'm already looking at it. And on week 2, they play LSU
Yeah.
and at their stadium, and then you got other schools, other good schools. That I'm just looking up off the top of my head. You got schools like UTEP, Southern Mississippi, what you call it, Liberty, Washington State. These schools, in my opinion, are all better than Louisiana Tech right now.
Yeah.
And it could be a debatable that even these some more teams on their schedule are better right now.
Yeah.
So hey, if like in college football, it's I think it's different. Like you can get fired easily
Yep.
from the NFL because college football they look at bowl game wins, they look at playoff wins, they look at rivalry wins that they don't really look at well they look at in the NFL, but not to the extent, in my opinion, in college football. And it just seems like Louisiana Tech isn't really competing in this. And they made it to a bowl game last year. They played Army, but they lost 27-6.
Right.
So hey,
Like I said, it's just wrinkles that they need to address. Like I said, I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it's just the little things that need to be looked at a little bit more than and like I said last season. Look at last season. It's just certain things that they need to address. And if Tech has not addressed that by now, one, they're not going to be Liberty. Two, they're not going to be Southern Miss. Okay. Then three, they're not. Tech has to prove that they are willing to win in competition than to lose in competition. Because Deuce, there were some games that I went to, and Deuce, there were times the defense be clicking, the offense just wouldn't be. Like, I'm just saying that they have a new offensive coordinator. If I remember correctly, they made some coaching changes, but this is not the first time Tech has done this. And my question now remains: how many coaching changes is it going to take for to realize that you know Sonny Cumby, like we can't keep adding coaches because now the question mark is on you.
but I really do think maybe does that raise the question to the higher person over the head coaching, like your athletic director and stuff like that, the one that is hiring these coaches. Maybe you have to go somewhere. Maybe you have to go venture out to another school or venture out somewhere far, like maybe somewhere like with a different style, somebody that can really come and just revamp this team. Change the coach. We love talking about Dion, what he did for Colorado, what he did for Jackson State.
Right.
In times like that, before then, like you could see like they needed the help, and we see it all the time with these HBCU schools before they bring in this big name player or big name coach, and it changes the program around. We see it time and time again. So maybe this is what LA Tech really needs. And I'm not saying I want the head coach to get fired because I everybody
Yeah,
that is on the current team, I want them to do the best.
right.
I want them to do the best. But just you look at the team and the team success in the history that Louisiana Tech has, they got to live up to that standard, and finishing in the middle of the pack or at the bottom of the pack consistently is just not going to cut it.
It's not gonna cut it. That's why they have not made it to, that's why they have not made it to conference, championships in the past previous seasons, and that's why they also have not been able to have a chance to make it to bowl games. But yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, dudes. But I'm gonna jump the gun here, and I'm gonna jump to LSU right quick. Um, so basically, the question is asked: what is LSU's football team expectations? LSU football expectation. I wrote this down. LSU football expectations to be a top contender in the SEC and a strong contender in the college football playoffs in 2025. The team is ranked ninth in the preseason AP poll and has a high expectation due to strong returning of vengeance, including quarterback Garrett Nussmeier and defense.
He's also a Heisman candidate right now.
That's what I'm saying. The defense is expected to improve because I don't know if you've been watching Deuce, but they have been getting recruits,
Mm-hmm.
left and right. You know, a successful season is in the balance on either improved offense of balance and consistency, and particularly in the running game. The high expectations. Once again, even Marty Smith from ESPN said this. He stated the expectations for LSU are astronomically high, with the team expected to compete for the SEC championship and the playoffs. I believe it. LSU has a chance to be top contenders because they have the roster. Okay, I think we can all agree that LSU has the roster. They got the coaching staff. They got the returning talent. They got the improved defense. There is no excuse at this point to you not make it to the playoffs. And remind you, they play Clemson, I think, this month, toward the end of this month, dudes. Mm-hmm. LSU has not been able to be successful in winning their first game of the season. Last year, they lost to, I think it was USC. And the list goes on. And I would go further depth into that, but I'm not going to go into that. But LSU has to win against Clemson in order for people to literally see them, because some people are using LSU's first home games for back-to-back seasons as a turning point that basically decides that, oh yeah, LSU, they don't really have a chance. I think LSU has a chance, but at the same time, you have to win the game against Clemson. Now, it's going to be kind of challenging because they are playing over there at Death Valley, over there at Clemson. That's a tough environment. Mm-hmm. But I think LSU has a chance to be a whole lot better than what they were last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this because I just know, like, we're on a time crunch. LSU, with the program that they have, they're expected to finish in the top of the SEC alongside teams as Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas, Florida, Oklahoma. All those teams off the top of my head, they have high expectations to finish first or at least in the top of the program. I feel like LSU has accomplished that, but not really accomplished that, like finishing at the very top. Right. They've been finishing, in my opinion, and let me look at it real quick. Yeah, they've been finishing in the middle of the pack. That 5-3 conference record, 9-4. So they have a good record, but in the SEC, that is a very strong conference. So, like, hey, when you're just for LSU, when they're playing, they got to make their name for themselves. When they're playing these teams like Alabama, when they're playing these teams like Georgia, like you said, Clemson, week one, that kicks off the tone. That says, okay, this is the team that is going to come into this season. I think about this all the time. Like, yeah, when these schools play these smaller schools, it's a fun little watch. But when they play these actual powerhouses, that you really see the team that really that it is for the whole season.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I don't want that. That's why I understand that these big schools playing these small schools is money game. I get all that. I get that. But at the same time, I can't sit here and look at a big school team and they completely dominated a small school team. Like that's like Grambling. Like that's like when Grambling played LSU, and everybody was like, "Oh, LSU gonna be good this year." But at the same time, they're playing. Grambling is a smaller school than LSU, so you can't. I've never, Deuce, based a team, a big school team, when they play a small school, I never determine them as top contenders. You got
Until they
here,
play a real team.
that's what I'm saying. I don't care what no one has to say, because there have been a lot of people that have come to me and like, oh, but LSU beat Grambling, and LSU beat Tech, or Alabama beat Tech.
And I say this all the time. Yeah, they beat us, and yeah, they beat Graham. So what? It would like they pay these smaller schools to come play them. Just to really get like a feel in a practice game, and they don't be playing their starters the full game, so you don't really get to see a true test. And I always say this: yeah, it's good on the money standpoint, but it's not fair. We all know it's not fair.
In reality, it's a scrimmage game.
Yes.
That's what me and my dad always called it. It's a
Mhm.
scrimmage game. That's like Grambling going to play Ohio State. We know how that game gonna go.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be the first one to say this here on the pod. Yeah, we gonna go. Grambling gonna play Ohio State. They play them September 6th, I believe, if I can remember right, and they play them in Ohio. But I'm
Right.
gonna say this: don't come talking and gloating just because Grambling got beat down real bad. No, we know that Grambling's gonna lose, but you know it's just a scrimmage game. And as much as I hate to say it, Grambling is getting paid to go out there.
Yeah,
They really don't have nothing to lose
they
by
don't.
playing them. Same
They
goes for Ohio State. They have nothing to lose. This is just a practice game. Ohio State's going to be coming off of playing Texas week 1, so they're playing Graham week 2, which they're probably not even going to play their starters the full game. So anybody that's trying to take this Grambling versus Ohio State game seriously, I would kind of throw that out the window and just go ahead and say like this game is not really important. It not really important to certain aspects. It's important to see like what kind of team for Grambling, in my opinion, they have, how they can compete against these bigger schools.
right.
But for Ohio State, it doesn't really mean nothing to them. I really think people at Ohio State are not even, they don't probably even know they're playing Grambling week 2. But
They don't. And they're not gonna look at this game as a threat, because how could you? I mean,
mhm.
let's be honest. Let's just be speak reality facts here. You know, Grambling. I mean, I think the only thing that's probably gonna be entertaining is the band, Deuce, because I've seen Grambling play at a lot of venues, and they never seen nothing like the world fame marching band. They never seen that. So I think that's what's going to be more entertaining now. And I actually believe, and I'm just going to throw this in out there, I believe it's more of the band that they want there than it.
Mhm.
Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But you can agree with me on this, dudes, that sometimes these big schools like these HBCUs, because of the band.
All I'm gonna say is watch. Look what happens after halftime. Half them people be out the stadium.
Yep.
But I mean, just like really wrapping this up. Any just closing remarks, just about this upcoming season that you just want to throw out there?
As far as Grambling wise, or
It's
um, honestly, it's just more of like kind of what I said in the last previous episode. The question remains still: where is Grambling physically? Where is Grambling at uh, emotionally wise? Because like I text you in a group chat, dudes, Grambling needs to get back to that hungry Tiger football team that we're used to seeing. Grambling used to be the most vicious team in the SWAC. And I don't know if you saw the SWAC media, I posted it. Not one player listed Grambling as the toughest place to play at. You want to know why? Because Grambling has not been considered a threat in the SWAC. So Grambling needs to find that fuel of fire to bring back to the SWAC, and bring Grambling that, oh, the G is coming. We need to get prepped for that. Because now you got teams like Prairie View, Alcorn, Southern. None of them are looking at Grambling as a threat because they're not competition wise. And I feel like if Grambling does not do that this year, if they don't win this game on the 30th against, I guess
Langston. Langston, Langston
If
University.
they don't win this game against Langston, Deuce, that's going. I mean, I don't want to judge off one game, but that's going to determine one where Grambling is at physically, where the coaching staff is at, and where Mickey Joseph is at as far as the head coach of Grambling State University.
And
Point
I
blank.
and I like that point. But closing this, short little podcast out. We are 21 days away from college football, so really stay tuned. We have football every day this month or every week this month. So football is back. It is nice to say that. But as always, check this out on YouTube. It'll be posted up there. It'll be posted on Instagram, posted on TikTok. Thank y'all for the support. Y'all have a blessed day and continue to support Inside the Locker Room.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a great blessed one. Grace.